This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm very, very happy to be joined today by none other than winemaker Mr. Paul Clüver, who is joining us all the way from Elgin, just down the coast from Stellenbosch in South Africa. How are you today, sir?
I'm very good, thank you. And you, Jamie?
I am fantastic, fantastic. Looks like you have some great weather there.
We do. It's nice and sunny, mid 20 degrees Celsius. So I don't know, what's that? 50s in the 50s in Fahrenheit. So it's very comfortable.
Now you're just you're in harvest right now, aren't you?
We slap bang in the middle of it right now.
Right.
Halfway through. Yeah.
And how is this year's harvest going thus far?
Very good. Very good. We had an incredibly cool summer.
Okay.
Actually, our December was one of the coolest since we've actually started recording temperatures, which has also resulted in one of our later vintages. So we only started the harvesting in the beginning of March, so just over two weeks ago, and things are looking amazing. Acidity, fruit flavors, everything looking really, really very good.
Super, super. Now we are here today to speak about the 2020 vintage Village Chardonnay from Paul Clüver. This is going to be in market within the next few weeks. Tell us a little bit about this wine. First off, where is the fruit coming from?
So we grow all our fruit on the property itself. So 100% what we call in South Africa estate winery.
Yes.
Which means you have to grow and make it on the property itself. And the amazing thing about that is you can make sure that the quality of the grapes that you're actually working with is what you really want, and you can ensure a great level of consistency, not only in the quality itself, but also in the provenance, which I think makes a great contribution to the quality of wine that we want at the end of the day. So in total, we do three different tiers of Chardonnay. And as you might have guessed, the village or village, as you said, is a little bit of a play on also what they do in Burgundy with a village, Premier Cru, Grand Cru, at different levels of Chardonnay. And what we really try to do, I think so often people want to make a more accessible Chardonnay, and then they tend to just unoak it. So it's an unwooded Chardonnay. This and for me, probably the best description of this wine is it's very much in a Chablis style of Chardonnay. So there is oak. There's no new wood on it. There's a little bit of foudre, so big barrels, which once again doesn't have this oak dominance on it, but it gives you the benefit of the micro-oxygenation which you get when you have it in an oak vessel.
So that's about 2,000. That's 2,500 liters, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
And you also use small oak barrels, old oak barrels, and tank for this particular wine.
Correct. So the smaller barrels are 300-liter barrels. A very small percentage of actually tank fermentation that takes place. About 10% in total. But it's exciting. I mean, so the emphasis on this wine is for us to bring something that is very uniquely Chardonnay. You get this beautiful citrus lime characteristics, fantastic acidity and length, but it's so accessible and still shows the greatness of the Chardonnay grape itself. And what we tend to do is we use obviously younger vines in this, so the youthfulness of those wines are showing itself. And it's done incredibly well. The 2020 is actually the first vintage that we've released this. And I mean, we were blown away. It actually got 95 points in Decanter in the UK, which really surprised us, right? It was like, but it just, I think, speaks to the actual quality of the wine. It's just absolutely incredible.
And some of those vines are very young indeed. Some of them were planted as recently as 2017, I believe.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So very much, if you look at the three different tiers that we focus on, as I mentioned, the Village tends to have younger grapes in it. So you get a far greater sense of varietal character, where the Estate Chardonnay has a because of the fact that they've been in the ground for much longer, you achieve two things: is a little bit more provenance.
Mhm.
They've had time to settle into their environment, and with that settling, also they have a little bit more of depth and concentration. And then obviously Seven Flags Chardonnay are from vineyards that are 35 years old, so which is the
Wow,
oldest on the
okay.
property itself.
And Chardonnay accounts for about 20% of your production, I believe.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit more now, about
Oh, I see.
25%, and growing. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Elgin just lends itself. It's South Africa's coolest wine growing region.
Yes.
If you can imagine Elgin as traditional apple country, it's very much, if you think of Washington State in America, which is known for apples, but also starting to grow vineyards. Elgin is very much the same. Traditional apple country. My father pioneered the first commercial plantings there in the mid 80s. And it really does well with cool climate varieties. What we do know is Chardonnay is a fairly adaptable varietal, so it can do well in warmer climates and cooler climates. But in warmer climates, stylistically, you tend to get the more ripery, buttery, peach characteristics. Where in the cooler climate, you get more the citrus lime, great acidity, much more focus on the wine itself, which tends to be more what you get from areas like Burgundy, Leyda, in Chile, Oregon in the United States is far more this cooler climate characteristic.
And what kind of clones are you playing about with down there? You have quite a few clones in the ground, don't you?
We do. We've got 95 and 96, which are Dijon clones, and then 548. And then the latest Burgundy clone is the 1066, which we also work with. And I think part of that journey is to see where we can constantly improve.
Yes.
So we're constantly experimenting within our focus. Our focus area is Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, and Pinot Noir. That's really where we try and dominate. We don't make any other red wine. That's it. Pinot is the wine we make. And so when we start experimenting, that experimentation is how can we delight our customer more by making a better wine at a great quality at price point ratio.
Excuse my ignorance here because I forget. What is the predominant soil type in Elgin?
It's shale, so very clay rich, high in iron. So you get various degrees of gravel within it, but it's Bockerfeld shale, so decomposed shale. It's very old, Jamie. I mean, if you consider the swirls in Elgin or in South Africa in general,
yes,
between 400 and 500 million years old. It was under the ocean at one stage, and when the tectonic plates of South America and South Africa crashed against each other, that's how you got this formation of Elgin taking place. And these swirls over time has weathered, and that means that we've got swirls that are they mineral rich, but they're nutrient poor. It's unlike the swirls in Europe where you've got very high carbon levels, very high nutrient levels. So things grow far more aggressively in those nutrient-rich soils. Yeah, they have to work a little bit harder, but with that working a little bit harder, you get a little bit more character.
Now I'm bouncing back and forth between the vineyard and the winery itself. But perhaps that's the way my mind works. I'm going back and forth between the two. Something I've forgotten. The Chardonnay that you put into those small older oak barrels is spontaneous ferment, is it not?
It is indeed, yes.
Right.
So what we find with spontaneous fermentation is, if you can imagine something like slow cooking, where you have a roast leg of lamb or a nice piece of meat that's cooked for 6 hours and it's literally falling off the bone and it's nice and succulent and juicy. You get that same impact, I find, where when you do natural fermentation, the fermentation takes much longer because you're not adding any yeast that creates a fast fermentation process. And with that, it takes place at a lower temperature. So you don't get this heavy oak extraction from the barrel itself. You get a far more harmonious character between wood and fruit.
How was the 2020 vintage as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of years, we've been very, very fortunate in the sense that lovely and cool climates, great growing conditions. Being a Mediterranean weather condition or Mediterranean influenced weather means that we don't have a lot of rain in summer, which helps. And because of our proximity to the ocean, we don't have these extreme heat weather conditions. So you have this beautiful day-night temperature differences. It cools down to, last night was 10 degrees Celsius, which would make it, I think that's about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, if I'm right.
Now, we do use centigrade up here. You don't need to worry about
it. Oh, fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that.
You don't have to do that translation.
Oh, good. So 10 degrees Celsius, it was last night.
Right.
And today during the day, it's 25, 26 degrees Celsius. So beautiful day-night temperature differences, which is actually fantastic for the flavor development, what we call in wine is anthocyanins developments that takes place. And what drives that is day-night temperature differences. If you don't have any cool temperature at night, actually you lose some of those flavors. But if you have this day-night, you just get the most intense, beautiful characteristics of fruit flavor within your wines, or within the grapes, which obviously then results into the wine having that.
You mentioned rain. You actually got rain at exactly the right time throughout this vintage in October of 2019 and January of 2020, right?
Yeah. So we're not a high rainfall area in summer. We get the majority of our rains in winter. But a little bit of rain just to make sure the plants are happy.
Yes,
the vines are happy, which is fantastic. We are blessed that we have the ability to also irrigate. So if it doesn't rain, we can at least supplement that with a little bit of water.
And what is the biggest pressure you have on Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Sauvignon Blanc? Is disease pressure something that you have to worry about each year?
It is, but it's so our biggest disease in vineyards, which is not too different, I think, from most wine growing regions, would be fungicide. So diny mildew, which we do spray for. We follow very much an integrated pest management approach. And the first part of that is ensuring that we have healthy soils. Healthy soils means healthy plants, and healthy plants means that their own natural ability to withstand disease is infinitely better. It's kind of like you and me, right? If we party all night and don't sleep enough and don't look after ourselves and eat badly, our risk of getting sick just increases dramatically. But if we look after ourselves, our ability of our own immune system to look after ourselves is so much better. And that's what you want with the plants, is you want the vines to be in beautiful soils and living soils. That means you need organic fertilizer, composting. You want lots of little bugs and worms in the soils doing their thing. And the end result is that you get a plant that's happy.
Superb. Well, I very much look forward to trying this Chardonnay when it becomes available. I think we'll find it in Ontario within the next week or so. So thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution today. On one closing note, what would your perfect pairing be with 2020 Village Chardonnay?
So I'm trying to think of some of the foods I've eaten in Toronto the last time I was there. And the one was, you've got a place there which I know makes great oysters, and I definitely have because it's got that focus and it's not a big battery Chardonnay. So I think it will work with oysters. Although having said that, probably one of my favorite combinations, other than the normal, I mean, an easy one pairing would be a great roast chicken
Right.
or roast chicken salad, but I love scallops with Chardonnay, right?
Okay.
It's just absolutely fantastic, that type of combination. Yeah, that would any great fish dish where you are using a little bit of a butter sauce, or grilled fish with butter. That combination is just absolutely amazing. I know in Germany right now, I don't know if you get that in Canada, but they've got those white asparagus.
Oh yes, 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 yes. We don't see so much of that here. We do get it some imported, but they charge an arm and a leg for it. But that white asparagus is quite special.
Yeah, you should grow it there. You've got the perfect temperature for it, don't you?
We don't. It's something that we don't see too much of here. I wonder why that is. There must be some reason. There must be some reason. Paul, thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution. I'm hoping that you're going to be able to make it over to Ontario at some point in the not too distant future, as it would be great to break bread with you once again.
Same here. I would love that.
Excellent. Take care out there and stay safe.
Thanks, Jamie. Take care.